Hi PCO Youths, welcome to another episode of Midweek Chill. And I think because of a few weeks being stuck at the house, I thought I would change the scenery, give it some greenery, some plants out here in my little balcony. How have you guys been doing? I hope you've been exercising, keeping yourselves fit, because just staying in the house, we need to exercise to keep healthy. Let me just begin by asking you, what do you call a belt that has a clock on it? What do you call a belt that has a clock on it? It's a waste of time. Why did the maths book look so sad? It was full of problems. Why don't skeletons fight each other? Well, they just don't have the guts. What do you call a B that comes from America? A USB. Finally, how do you make 7 an even number? Take the S out. Well, those were some jokes and riddles that my cousin sent to me this morning. It's good to have some laughter. The last one, how do you make 7 an even number? By taking an S out of it. Took me a few minutes actually to get it. I hope you get it soon. Today, in this episode of Midweek Chill, we want to begin with things that matter, and then we'll follow by plus skills. And in between then, I will share with you a couple of games I found on the handphone that I thought, now being your holidays, many of you having your spring break, you may want to play with it. It's fun, it's interesting, and it's also beneficial for you. So I will show that later, some games that you can play on the smartphone. Right now, let's go into things that matter. Today, for things that matter, I want to touch on the topic of belonging. Belonging means to be accepted as part of a group. And as youths, I remember when I was a teenager, I always longed to belong. Of course, sometimes we long to belong to the most popular group in school. Sometimes we just long to belong to our siblings, our older brothers and sisters. Sometimes we just long to belong even in church youth groups. Belonging is a very, very normal behavior or desire of humans. We were created to be in community, to be in society, to be with others and not live in isolation. But then today, people have found that belonging is a big issue for youth. A recent national survey in the United Kingdom found that 4 out of 10 youths felt that they didn't belong. They felt lonely. They felt detached from community or society. That may seem like an alarming figure to us as adults or even some youths. And we think back about olden days, your parents may tell you, back in my days, we never felt that. That's not true. The reason why the statistics seems to be so high these days is simply because youths today, like you, are more articulate. You have more medium to express yourself, whether in social media, whether in surveys, whether in schools. You're able to speak up more for yourself. So youths feeling a sense of lacking of belonging is not something new. In fact, it is actually to be expected. Why? Because when you are youth, you are neither children nor adult. You are sort of an in-between stage. A stage where you're actually finding out your identity, working out who you are, and so you are no longer the kid that you used to be, loving to play and having fun, but neither are you like the adults you can join in the adult conversation. So it makes it quite difficult finding your identity. So what I want to begin with here in belonging is to tell you, it's normal. Don't think that you are weird, that there's something wrong with you. It's quite normal. The question then is actually, how do we work out? How do we work out to getting our place of belonging? And this things that matter, I just want to show you 6 steps, 6 practical steps that you can take to belong to a group or community or a society. Okay, let's begin with number 1. Choose to step out of your cave. Choose to step out of your cave. Now, throughout these 6 steps, I'm going to use the analogy of a cave. The cave being where we are at, who we are, a place of security. Imagine yourself living in a cave. The cave belongs to you and you are surrounded by the wall, so you feel secure. There are no surprises coming to you from left, right, center, up or down. And we are all having our own caves. Place where we feel secure, the personality, the identity, the kind of environment that we like. But the first step of belonging is actually getting out or choosing to step out of your cave, going beyond where you are comfortable with. It's always a lot easier to stay in the cave than to step out. In fact, when you're in a cave and you look out to the mouth of the cave, the light is very glaring and it hurts the eyes and it looks like, oh, you just want to turn away from it. But you know, outside beyond the light, it's a much bigger, better world. Like the song in Aladdin, it's a whole new world, a new fantastic point of view. Well, the world out there is a lot more beautiful and brighter than my singing. It's horrible. I can guarantee you the world outside your cave is a lot better. So the first thing to do is to choose to step out of your cave. Let me give you an example. You go out for a dinner, a family dinner, your parents have brought you, you're meeting other family friends, there are other teenagers, your age group, and your parents try to push you to interact, to make friends. That is a time where some of us really don't like it. And instead of making friends, all you can do is sulk. I don't like this place, I don't like this kind of food, I don't like this environment. You know what that is? That is a reaction where you choose to stay within your cave rather than come out. You say you don't like. And so rather than focusing on coming out, you choose to stay in. Some of us are the same. We will just take out our phones and keep looking at our phones. Not that there's something important to do, but that's how we maintain ourselves in our caves. Shut ourselves out from others. That doesn't help. First step you need to take, choose, young people, choose to step out of your cave, out of your insecurity, out of your fear, out of your comfort zone. Then comes number 2. Accept others who are different from you. Now when you come out of the cave, you know what's going to happen? You're going to find yourself very different from other people. While we've been in the cave, imagine, we've been very fair-skinned because we've had little sunlight. And so when we step out, other people are a different color to us. This is metaphorically speaking, right, young people? And because they're different, you look at them, you say, oh no, I don't really want to go near them. They're so different. Maybe the way they talk is different, the way they dress is different, age group could be different, coming from different schools. Many reasons why we want to stay away. But you know, if you choose only those who are similar to you, it's very unlikely you're going to find a place to belong, because all those who are like you are also in their own individual caves. We need to learn to accept others who are different from us. Sometimes young people, the problem about not making friends or not belonging is we ourselves, we shut others out from ourselves because they are different from us. I remember when I was 18 years old, when I first became a Christian. Before I was a Christian, I was a very outgoing person. I made friends, no issue, no problems of belonging. But when I became a Christian, obviously my life changed and I started to go for the youth group. Now I still remember my first few months at the youth group, it wasn't pleasant, it wasn't fun. Because for the first time, I stepped into a group or community that was so different from me. The way they talk, the way they dress, it was so different from myself, which was very worldly at the time. I had been to discos, nightclubs, and all that. And so I still remember for the first few months when I went for the youth group, when people were chatting and making friends, I would be standing by myself next to the wall looking at the notice board. Just because I felt so awkward, I didn't know what else to do, so I pretend to get myself occupied and look at the notice board. These days you don't have to, you can look at your phones. Essentially the same thing. So I had to learn to accept that these people, this youth group, this church youth group, were people who were different. If I didn't, I would always shut people out and I would never belong. Which brings me then to the third step. The third step being, take the active action to reach out. Take the active action to reach out. You see, when we don't belong, our tendency is to sulk and go back to our cave and wait for people to come knocking on our caves to become friends with us. But that is highly unlikely to happen, unfortunately. So what we need to do, take the active action to reach out. What I did was this in that youth group. I decided to take the active step to make friends. So I looked for people who were not in groups. You see, when you want to belong, people are already in their cliques, in their own groups where they are already close friends. And it's hard to fit in. So what I did was I looked for people who were by themselves, who were standing alone at the notice board, just like me. And I reached out and we started to make friends. And so, take the active step. Don't wait for people to come to you. You go out to other people. Now, which brings us to the fourth step. You say, but it's hard. I don't know how to start a conversation. Or sometimes when I start a conversation, you know what happens? the awkward silence. Nobody knows what to say, what to do. So here's a tip. You can do this by introducing yourself and then ask questions. No need to try and make conversation, ask questions. If you see the guy, he's playing a game, say, hey, what's the game you're playing? He tells you, follow through with those questions. What do you do in this game? How do you... the more questions you ask, the more the conversation will take place. Or you see somebody is reading a book by the side by themselves. Go and say, what are you reading? Is it a nice book? Who's the main character? What is it? Follow through with the questions and you'll begin to find the conversations develop by themselves. A common problem we have is we don't follow through with the conversations. After we've asked them, we change the topic. That makes it very hard to hold a conversation. For example, you don't say, hey, what's the game you're playing? After the person answers you what the game is, you go and change the topic and say, hey, how do you make your hairstyle that way? That really makes it very difficult to have a conversation. Follow through. Ask questions, follow through with them, and you'll find that relationships begin to form and the sense of belonging takes place very soon. Coming up to number 5, join a group. Join a group. Whether it is your school, you're already part of a classroom, but let's widen your circle of friends. So you join a new group, maybe a new extracurricular activity in school. Join the chess club, join the basketball club, join the debating team. Maybe in your church, join the church youth group, go for more youth activities. Maybe in your music lessons or whatever it is. Basically, within your current circle of friends, if you don't even already belong, then you got to look for new people to meet. This is one of the things that I did when I started to go for the church youth group. Remember I told you I felt very awkward and I started to look for a place where I can belong, and I got myself active. I choose to give rather than to wait to receive. So what did I do? I helped them. They needed help to set up chairs, they needed help to set up the music equipment. I didn't know how to play music, but I could at least carry the speakers, put up the keyboard, and so I started to get into a group where these were the people who did the setup, and we became friends. A very natural, easy way to belong. So find a group, a place where you can contribute. By contributing, by giving, you will soon find yourself belonging as well. And we come to our last step, step number 6, on how to belong. The first 5 steps were quick and fast, easy steps where you could see results immediately. The last step is actually a long-term one, and that is to develop your social skills. How do we develop social skills? By doing things that are creative or artistic. When we go to school, we learn to read, write, do mathematics, solve linear or rational logical problems. All those parts of our brain are called the cognitive skills. But the social skills are on a different part of our brain, and we need to exercise them. And to exercise them, then we become better at those social skills. Take for example, I'm right-handed. I have no problem brushing my teeth with my right hand. But if I were to use my left hand, I'm quite likely I'm going to poke my gums and hurt myself. Why? Because I never used my left hand. Likewise, some of us have difficulty finding belonging because we lack social skills, the left hand. And because we keep exercising the right hand, the cognitive skills, we never develop the social skills. So I'm going to tell you, one of the ways to develop your social skill is actually to do creative or artistic things. For example, singing. Singing is a wonderful way where young people can develop their social skills by exercising their creative part. Dancing, playing music instruments, doing art, painting, sketching, even reading books, but not books such as your school books, but fiction books, story books, because it stirs up your imagination, it stirs up your emotions, and all those are the social part, the social skills part. And even doing things like gardening, like I have here, I like to do gardening, and also even photography. And later on at the plus skills, Vida will show you some skills, some tips on how to use handphone photography. So we need to do things that are different from what we are used to, and those are the creative or artistic parts. Those in the long term will help you to develop your social skills. So young people, I go through again with you the 6 steps of belonging. The first, choose to step out of your cave. Secondly, accept others who are different from you. Thirdly, take the active action to reach out instead of waiting for someone to come to you. Fourthly, ask questions and follow through the answers. Fifthly, join a group, be part of a new circle of people or friends. And sixthly, do something artistic or creative as to develop your social skills. So young people, now that we are all confined to the house, this gives us more time, and I hope that you will go through these 6 steps at home, think about it, work on it mentally, so that when school starts, when we can get back into church, you will be more than ready. You can even practice this with your family and your siblings as well. As mentioned earlier, I told you I found 2 cool games to play on the handphone, so I'm going to show them to you now. And I'm also going to show you a website that I like to watch. It's called Dude Perfects. It's a very fun thing, and it helps you to develop your creativity, and it's a real fun time, and I will show that to you as well. The first game I wanted to show you is called Tiny Bubbles. It's a winner of a number of game awards. It's a really fun game. I will show you here the demo. Basically, it allows you to mix, match, inflate and deflate bubbles. It uses the actual physics of how bubbles work, mixing of colors, and essentially very nice graphics and nice sound. A game that helps you to think creatively, to think out of the box. And as just now we said, things that matter. This will help you to develop the social part of your brain. So hope you can take a look at it. As always, this game is free, but it comes with online advertisements. Do check with your parents first before you download it. Next game is called Lightbot Code Hour. It's almost the complete opposite of the Tiny Bubbles, because this game requires you to think in logical, sequential, linear thinking. It's a good game that many schools actually around the world have been using it to introduce coding, computer programming to young people. Essentially, it helps you to think methodically and to solve problems. You got this little guy here where you're supposed to bring him around to go to the blue boxes to light up by giving them instructions. Just like the first game, it's also free. Both games, when you start off with, the first 7 to 10 levels are really easy, but then it gets really tough, and this is a fun game like Boat Code Hour to stretch your mind as well. Again, check with your parents before you download it. And one of my favorite channels to watch on YouTube is called Dude Perfect. It's really a fun one, where it's really creative, and the things that they do, the tricks that they do are really enjoyable. It's all good, clean fun, and you can try them at home. Now that you are homebound, there are many tricks that you can try yourself to try and do it at home. But it's really fun. So as always, all the details about the earlier 2 games and this website itself will be at the bottom of the YouTube video description, where you can find it yourself and follow it. Okay, have fun with it. Today for Plus Skills, we have Vida, who's going to show you about handphone photography. Enjoy!
Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. My name is Vida, for those of you who don't know me, and I usually serve at Journey, our 5:30 p.m. youth service. And today, we're going to be talking about photography. I'm going to be going through a couple of common beginner tips and tricks for photography, specifically ones that you guys can use on your phones or your parents' phones. And I know we can't really go outside, so we can't take pictures of nature, but I'm sure if you guys look deep enough, you'll find a subject that you can take pictures of. Alright, so step number 1, and this is very important, is don't forget to clean your lens. And to do this, you can use a small brush or a soft cloth. And if you don't have a soft cloth, you can even use a cotton t-shirt or something like that, and your pictures will be a lot clearer. So here are a couple of things to keep in mind when you're actually taking the picture. First of all, make sure you set or lock the focus of the camera, and this is really easy. A lot of phone cameras will let you just tap on the subject or the thing that you want to focus the picture on, and then it'll automatically adjust the focus to that subject. You're also going to want to adjust the exposure, which basically means how much light you're letting into the picture. And again, phones make it really easy these days. You can just tap to focus on the subject again, and usually a slider will pop up next to the focus circle, and you can just adjust up and down depending on how much light you want or how much darkness you want. The next thing to keep in mind is lighting. So usually it's best to use natural lighting, which basically just means the sun. And so while we're all locked up in our houses, maybe open the windows, take pictures during the daytime. But if that's not an option, you can also use artificial lighting, which means you can use the lights in your room. If you have a studio light, you could use those as well. But sometimes your phone will also come with a flash. So that's an option if your pictures are turning out too dark. So, next tip, don't forget to keep your camera steady. Phones these days will have anti-shake features, but still, it's always best if you help the phone out a little bit and just avoid shaking the camera. You can practice keeping your hands as still as you can. You can support it as well on your other hand or even on a desk. But the other ways is you can use a tripod, or you can simply lean your phone against a water bottle, a coffee mug, or anything in your house that you can think of. Tip number 4, focus on your composition. Composition is just a fancy way of saying what is in your photo and where it goes. It's the arrangement and the placement of the things in your photo. A common technique for composition is to use the rule of thirds. Basically what that means is if you can imagine like a tic-tac-toe grid where there's 2 lines horizontally and vertically and there's 9 different grids. If you picture something like that over your photo, you're gonna try to place your subject or the thing you're focusing on one of those corners or intersections. A lot of phones will come with a grid feature, and so you don't even have to imagine. You can just place your subject in those intersections. And the rule of thirds is just a great way to create visual interest for a lot of photos. But just like any rule in creativity, it is meant to be broken if you do it intentionally and with a purpose. So, tip number 5 is to get creative with the angles and the perspectives. And so the first most common angle is the neutral angle. So this camera that you're looking at is taking a video of me at a neutral angle, which just means that it's straight ahead. But other angles that you can also experiment with is a 45-degree angle, a bird's eye view, or even a low angle. Just mess around and see what you like, and who knows, maybe you'll start to see things in a different way. So, you're done with cleaning your phone camera and you've taken your pictures. What next? Well, now it's the time for editing. A lot of phones will come with a basic editing feature, and so I'm going to show you guys how to edit in those basic ways. First basic editing tool is cropping. Cropping just means you're cutting the picture and making it smaller, changing the size, depending on how you want it to look. In this step, you also usually can rotate your pictures and adjust the angles, and so if it's a little bit crooked, you can adjust it in this step. The second basic editing feature is adjusting the exposure and the contrast. Like I said before, exposure is just about how dark and how light your picture is. And so you can play around with that and see what you like. And contrast just means how big the difference is between the darkest and the brightest colors. So the bigger the contrast, the bigger that difference. Again, just mess around with it and see what you like. So once you're done with those basic editing steps, you can also mess around with the colors and the tones or the warmth. And if all those words sound like just gibberish to you, that's okay. A lot of apps come with settings that you can just click and it'll give a certain look and feel and color to your pictures. These settings are called filters or presets. Depending on the app that you use, you can just select ones that are already available.
Edits don't always have to be extreme, so this is just a side-by-side picture of the before and after, just to give you an idea of what you can do.
There's so many different apps out there that you can download to help you with the editing process, and don't forget to ask your parents about what apps you can or can't download, because most of them are free, but there are some that you might have to pay for. Here are some apps that you can download. Lightroom, Visco, Snapseed, PixArt, Canva, and Nichi. Okay, so now that you guys are all experts in mobile phone photography, you guys can just try it out for yourself. Maybe you can create a website just like we learned in the first week, and you can put up recipes just like the flatbread that we learned how to make last week. Whatever you guys use the photography tips for, I hope you guys enjoy it and have fun, and feel free to share. Have a great week, you guys. Bye!
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Midweek Chill, and I will see you again soon next week. God bless you, young people. Take care.